Hello, and welcome to the Clips with the Coalition, Nebraska Culture Change Coalition. You can subscribe to our website at www.necccoalition.org. And there you can get information about the Clips with the Coalition, Coffee with the Coalition, and our culture change perspectives. You can also find us on Facebook. So welcome to this month's clips. So today we're going to talk about how you can help individuals transition to a situation where they are receiving formal assistance to reduce anxiety, frustration, and any other feelings that they may be having. So Denise, you want to kick us
Yeah.
off?
Yeah, I thought maybe a good framework for the conversation is to look through the lens of well-being. And the Eden Alternative identifies 7 domains of well-being, which are identity, connectedness, security, autonomy, meaning, growth, and joy. So we're going to kind of go through those and think through the lens of the individual who now needs daily support, but also think through the lens of their family members whose well-being is being impacted through this transition as well. So let's start with identity. Like, how important are people's identity, and how can we really make it meaningful during this kind of a transition process? Anna, what's your thoughts on that?
The identity is so important, and it starts before the transition process actually begins. So, this individual, if they're still in their home and you need to come in and do an assessment, get to know that person. What's important, Denise, is it's not just a task. Let's start out with a conversation and encourage that individual to talk about their story. Start out by asking them, tell me about a day in your life here at this wonderful home. And you would be surprised how they open up and they feel like they want to share the story. Versus if you come in with a piece of paper and immediately want to collect all the information, check, 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 it's going to put them a little on guard, make them a little apprehensive that they don't want to engage in the conversation. And what about your thoughts on sitting at the dining room table? Like, I look at your background there, Denise. Let's have some beverages. Would you like anything to drink? May I get you a cup of water? Maybe have some pleasantries, their snacks, to help diffuse maybe a high anxiety situation. So it's really starting before that individual even makes that move to wherever they're going. Ladies, your other thoughts on that, Kirsten, Natalie?
Oh, I agree that the process starts way before somebody moves in. I mean, family members and caregivers have been thinking about this for a long time, and it's been a really difficult decision for them. And understanding who you're supporting and who that person is so important, like you said, Anna. And then, after they have made that decision and they've made that move, or they've welcomed a caregiver into their home, whichever way they decide to do that, the process doesn't stop. This is a journey, and we need to be in that exploration mode every day. We need to be looking for the things that bring people joy and happiness and security, to make sure all of those buckets in their lives are fulfilled. And that doesn't stop. And as you were saying, Anna, it's not just a check mark or filling out the boxes and meeting those requirements. It's really about getting to know that person and what their life is like, and what they want their life to be like, because their life still has meaning and they still have the opportunity to grow and develop no matter where they're living.
And Kirsten, you made a good point about the journey. This isn't a one and done. So this
No.
journey is going to continue. So it's important for us to keep this conversation at the forefront. And so great comments there. I just wanted to add to that.
Well, and I wanted to speak a little bit to the caregiver's perspective. In many situations, your loved one might have had a caregiver in their home, and if they are transitioning into a community, the caregiver's role might be changing as well. But it's very important for your loved one as well as the caregiver themselves to realize that their role's not ending; it's just changing.
Yeah.
And they still need someone with them. Having a familiar face is huge, or more than one familiar face even. So it's a very difficult transition, but you're still very needed. But if no matter where they transition into, having a familiar face there, having someone who can advocate for them and help them make that transition. So
And Natalie, that's a good point. It allows the caregiver. So, say you for yourself, you were the caregiver of your loved one, you're still a caregiver and part of the process, but it allows you to be the daughter, the granddaughter. It
yeah,
allows us to be all that we need to be. I tell families that, I shouldn't say tell, speak with families that the husbands, wives, now you can go back to being the wife of your husband. It's just so
yes,
important. Yes.
good point.
And,
Well, and I was just thinking as Natalie was sharing and as you were talking, Anna, how important it is if our loved one is going to a community to live, how important is it to introduce that wife to other family members? And how it is so important, let's say, for example, it was my husband that was going to the community to live, how important it would be to introduce him to other residents, you know?
And
And
doing that multiple times. I mean, especially if you're talking about someone who experiences dementia, that's not a one-time thing, and that's part of that journey. You may have to do these things several times before they not only feel comfortable, but that they have a sense of security about where they're at. Every day, they may not know who they're sitting and eating lunch with.
well, and I was thinking back to when I was an administrator and we would have new residents come in and, especially, that first time sitting down at a table. And, this was many, many years ago. We didn't even think about introducing them to their new table mates. And it's like, now it's like, we want to be person-centered. If I was out at a church function and I sat down at a table at potluck, what would we do? We would introduce ourselves. And so just taking that time to make that person comfortable, to reduce that anxiety, frustration.
and Teresa, that's a good point. This is all about respect as well. That should just be a common best practice that if you're going to have an individual come to your table, dignity, respect, courtesy, include them in part of the conversation. The other thing too, as an individual transitions into a new place, is allow them time. It's not going to happen overnight. And Kirsten, you made the point you may need to reacclimate, reintroduce several times, but we need to help set them up to succeed. Then that's where that autonomy, Denise, in your list, that's where that autonomy, and then they become self-sufficient. It becomes their home. Oh, I could go on and on about this.
Yes. And I think one of the challenges we have when we are healthcare professionals is we know the list. We know the things based on where we're at and what we're doing. We know the things we absolutely have to get done, and we're focused on what assistance do they need? What are the things I need, the equipment I need to have in place? What are the things I need to tell the people that are most closely? And we get so focused on that ends up being the identity of the person. That is all we communicate about, and that's all that we see the person as. And how many times I've heard people say, oh my gosh, so and so passed away, and I just read the obituary. I had no idea all of this happened in their lives. And I just think, what a shame, because every person, I had somebody else tell me, every person is like a library. They're just full of
Mhm.
all kinds of cool things. And if all we see them as is the hip replacement that needs two-person assist, we miss out on so much. So
Yeah.
how do we create this environment where we do connect, where we do really get to know the whole person and not just this little category of things that they need assistance with? I think
That's
that's
such a good point. It's one of those things that you think about, we're talking about the lunch table and where you sit, where somebody sits to have lunch. You want to sit people based on who they're going to have commonality with and who is going to be the best support. Having someone new come to the community is just as hard on other residents because they're wondering who this new person is and what they're sitting at their table for and some of those things. Um, we just did a session on bullying in senior care, and it's a real thing. And so finding those commonalities is so important. But if you don't know what those are, to be able to make connections so that people feel that security and feel like they have commonality with other people. And it might not be right the first time. I mean, several of us have gone to a conference or sat somewhere and we're like, these aren't my people. I need to find my people. And sometimes it takes 2 or 3 shots before you find your group that you feel comfort and commonality with.
Important, and that's why we need to really understand the individual, get to know that person well ahead of time, not the day of.
Yeah.
One of the other domains, Denise, that you brought up was meaning and growth, and everything we're talking about here today all lends way. We all need purpose. We need to understand what our meaning is. And especially for those individuals making that transition, we're all about how do we help them succeed? Just because they have that certain diagnosis, they're still human, they're still a person. Get to know them so we can still nurture them and inspire growth.
Yep. And I appreciate that you brought up growth because some questions I've heard people ask when new people move in or join the team that I think is really interesting. It's like, what are you bringing to our community that could help us be even better? Or what do you want to learn while we're supporting you? What do you want to experience? And do you have any new things you'd like to do, things on your bucket list that you haven't done yet? Let's talk about that. Let's see how we make that happen while we're in this supporting relationship together and what that looks like.
And see, just listening to you talk that way, I was getting all energized. I was thinking, now what's on my bucket list? I mean, we all have that. We all have these, ideations of what we want to do, regardless of our age. So we need to really get to know that person.
Yeah. And not just for who they were 2 decades ago, but who they are today and who they want to be tomorrow.
And importantly,
I love
focus
the
on
idea. Oh, sorry, Anna. I love the idea, Denise, of what can they bring to the community? So many times I've even fallen into that category before where it's like, okay, what does the community provide the new resident? But it's their home. They're going in to live there. And so they will be contributing and they can make changes. This is something good to remember.
Yep. Well, that's part of having autonomy is having influence.
Yes.
Well, and it reminds me of, take that person who has run meetings their entire life. Why not put them in charge of residence council?
Mhm.
Let them run the meeting. Takes a lot
Mhm.
of stress off the staff.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Looking for people that have different insights and looking at how you can fill their bucket up, and still bring them joy in their lives. And remembering too that Denise, back to your point, that may have been who they were 2 or 3 decades ago or what they did as a professional career. They may or may not want to do that. And so they might have those desires, but they might not. And really looking at what brings you joy now and what do you like to do?
And what a great suggestion. All this conversation about the domains and I'm going to repeat them for the sake of this video again, because I think it's important. We can use that when we go in and start this conversation, get to know their identity, the connectedness, right? Security, autonomy, meaning, growth, and joy. And maybe utilizing those as conversation starters is just wonderful. So I'm glad, Denise, you started us off that way. Is there anything else we'd like to contribute to this wonderful conversation? Well, on behalf of the Nebraska Culture Change Coalition, we hope you found nuggets of knowledge, how I term it, tips, just valuable information, really, that will help you with that transition process of individuals who need formal assistance. Keep in mind, again, the domains. And if you'd like to further review this video, or feel free to share it, Teresa, would you like to share the website one more time?
Yeah, since I murdered it the first time. It's
Why do you think I put it back on you?
it's www.NECCCOALITION.org.
Yay, thumbs up. Well, again, on behalf of the coalition, thank you all for your time, and I hope you enjoyed this conversation as much as we did. Bye.
Bye.